Now, I know what everybody's thinking. People are saying the same things for the most part. I can understand that a lot of people don't understand how it works, but guys like Dylan White, Deontay Wilder, um, Joseph Parker, they're not going to step in for a fight this big on what at that point in time. What was it? About 12 days notice when Pulev pulled out. Kubrat Pulev is legitimately injured. Anthony Joshua is going to be fighting Carlos Takam October 28th, 2017. It's going to be on Showtime and it's going to be on Sky Sports in front of 80,000. It's his comeback fight. It was supposed to be his mandatory. Technically, it still is the mandatory for the IBF. A lot of people were already giving him shit for why is he fighting Kubrat Pulev. He had to. When it comes to the sanctioning bodies, there are four titles, four major titles in this day and age. To be an undisputed champion, you have to have those four titles. The WBC, that's Deontay Wilder. The WBA, Super World, that's Anthony Joshua. The IBF, there's Anthony Joshua. And the WBO was Joseph Parker. The IBF is the most strict of all of the organizations, from what I've learned, especially over the last 2 years. They will strip you. They stripped Tyson Fury because he had a rematch clause. But however, I do understand how it works, and I do understand that there's so much politics when it comes to these sanctioning bodies that it's not in the best interest for the IBF, nor do they want to or did want to strip Anthony Joshua. But still, nonetheless, he had to fight Kubrat Pulev. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. In order to judge these fighters on who they are and are not fighting, you have to know the political landscape. For example, not Anthony Joshua, um, Deontay Wilder is getting all that shit. My bad, it's early. It's about 7 something in the morning. Not Anthony Joshua. Deontay Wilder's getting a lot of shit because Luis Ortiz did something wrong, and he's fighting Bermane Stiverne, a mandatory, right? Now I can go into all of that about why he's fighting him and everything, but I'm going to be at the fight. I'm going to be at Wilder versus Stiverne too, and I'm going to explain the whole situation for those who don't know when I get to the. During fight week when I do my fight week video. So to keep it on Anthony Joshua, you can't be mad at him for fighting Carlos Takam. Even if it was Kubrat Pulev, you can't be mad at him if he was fighting Kubrat Pulev. He had to. Now, what's the goal for him for 2018? From my understanding, it's supposed to be Joseph Parker and Deontay Wilder. And we don't know who he's going to fight, if it's going to be 3 fights. We do know that Deontay Wilder and Joseph Parker are supposed to be in there. But here's the thing. It's starting to seem like Eddie Hearn, the promoter of Anthony Joshua, is trying to maneuver Anthony Joshua away from Deontay Wilder and get Deontay Wilder versus Dylan Whyte. Now, my question is, does Anthony Joshua versus Dylan Whyte 2, if it was for that IBF and WBA and WBC title, a bigger fight in the UK? Is it a bigger fight in the UK than Wilder versus Joshua? Because he's really been angling for that. And Dylan Whyte knows that that Eddie Hearn has been trying to get that fight for him. And Dylan Whyte confidently feels that he can beat Deontay Wilder. But Deontay Wilder's in a very tough spot because what if Eddie Hearn takes Anthony Joshua over to HBO? You see what I'm saying? That can create a whole different can of worms right there as far as politically, especially since Eddie Hearn is aligning himself with HBO and making his move here in the United States. And I noticed he hired somebody that works with HBO to head up their. It's a small deal to people who don't know, but to the people who cover boxing or in media, you know the name Ed Keenan. So, and he's heavily aligned with HBO. So then they hired him. But basically, what I'm saying is, it's looking like Eddie Hearn is going to take his fighters exclusively to HBO. That's something right there. And I'm wondering, where does Eddie Hearn stand as far as how does he feel? Does he feel threatened that Deontay Wilder can beat Anthony Joshua? Or is it he feels that Dylan Whyte, if Dylan Whyte beats Deontay Wilder, that the Dylan Whyte or the Joshua Dylan Whyte 2 would be a bigger fight? I don't know. But let's go look at the resumes real quick. Which one is it? Is it this one? No, not that one. It's that one. As you can see, 19 and 0. 19 and 0. 19 KOs. He's fighting Carlos Takam. Now, if you don't know, Carlos Takam has a pretty solid resume. Not a great one, solid, but even though it's big fights, he lost 35 3 and 1, 27 KOs, 1 KO. That KO came to Alexander Povetkin. He's fought Joseph Parker. You know, it was somewhat of a close fight, nasty fight. And then he had that draw against Mike Perez. And then he fought even a guy, Michael Grant. Yes, that Michael Grant. But if you really, really look at it, there ain't nothing there, but yet he is ranked, and you can't be and you can't be really mad about that. So looking at the rankings as we stand, and I'm actually in the process of updating these rankings right now, because when it comes to the rankings of these sanctioning bodies, they all don't update their rankings at the same time. So you have to wait until all of them. So for example, you may have the WBC upload their shit on October the 7th. You may have the WBA not get around to their shit till October the 21st, the IBF October the 15th, and so on. You see what I'm saying? So if you wait, if you gotta wait to update your rankings on your website after everybody updates theirs, which can be a pain in the ass because it won't be in perspective. But these are official rankings as it stood last month. Now, as you do or do not know, the WBC has decided to keep Luis Ortiz in the rankings, while the WBA has decided to suspend him for 6 months unless he decides to get his B sample tested. And he has tomorrow, October the 20th, today is the 19th, to do so. Anthony Joshua was the WBA IBF, and if you could look, Carlos Takam is ranked by the IBF at number 3. So eventually, if he would have kept winning with the way the IBF is, as I explained to you earlier, he was going to get his title shot. You see what I'm saying? Where else is he ranked? He's ranked number 5 by the IBF. He is not ranked by the WBA, and he is not ranked by the WBO. Now Wilder's in a tough situation because if he beats Bermane Stavern and he doesn't get the Anthony Joshua fight, then he has to fight a voluntary, and look who's available in the voluntaries. Either guys he's fought or guys that don't nobody want to see. And Eddie Hearn knows this, and if Dylan Whyte wins, right, against Robert Hellenius on the undercard of Joshua versus Takam, he'll be the next mandatory for Deontay Wilder Bermane Stavern. So you really have to pay attention to what's going on. There's some heavy political shit going on. And truth be told, it seems as though Eddie Hearn wants Anthony Joshua to go after Joseph Parker and then go after Wilder. They're trying to, it seems as though they're trying to force Wilder out. At least that's the way it's looking to me. So, it's really going to come down to some power plays. And also, I've noticed that HBO and Showtime have been in bidding wars for the last 2 fights involving Anthony Joshua. HBO is after him, and Eddie Hearn can deliver him up, So, like I said, that whole Eddie Hearn coming to the States, it has something to do or has some ties to, wait a minute, let me go back here. It has some ties to Wilder versus Joshua, and when that doesn't happen. Now, if it does happen, I feel that though it would happen here in the States because they've been talking about bringing Anthony Joshua over here to Vegas. So I don't know, man. I don't know. And Deontay Wilder's in a tough spot, but like I said, we can't really talk about it until fight week because it's not his fault that Povetkin failed the test, even though that case is not over. And I do feel that Povetkin didn't do nothing wrong. I have all the legal documentations. When it comes to Luis Ortiz didn't fill out the proper paperwork. I don't know. Anyway, I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. We're going to be providing partial coverage to this. I'm the U.S. correspondent for www.thesportsman.com over in the U.K. And my friend Chris Ridgway over there in the U.K. is going to be at Joshua versus Takam doing his part. And basically, we're building something. So, I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe. All the links to my social media are right down below in the description box. We post highlights, news, and basically we do everything we got to do to make sure that even if I'm not doing enough videos, which I'm getting back to, you know, building all this is, you know, it's a lot. That we make sure we keep you in the loop on social media. Please subscribe. Now we got to figure out how to end these videos faster.